Hey everybody, it's Perch. It's New York City Comic Con. We got some news from DC, which you might have already heard. You can hop over and check out that video, or you could also learn about what's happening with Marvel. And with Marvel, we have some X-Men news. We have some event news. First off, let's talk about what is effectively the first half of the year. So if you're thinking, you know what we really need from Marvel, it's more events. Well, good news for you. Between November and the summer, let's say June of 2023, basically about 6 months, maybe 7 months, we've actually got 6 events announced. So Avengers Assemble, which starts in November. That's going to finally conclude Jason Aaron's run. Dark Web, which is basically a sequel to Inferno, but no, not that Inferno that Hickman did. This one's going to feature Madeline Pryor and Chasm teaming up with Spider-Man and his Venom and those characters and the X-Men. Then we have Sins of Sinister, which we'll get to in a minute, which is basically Age of Apocalypse, but with Mr. Sinister. Then we have an event called Captain America Cold War that we'll talk about another time, which is kicking off in the spring, which bring the 2 Captain America books and a few others together. Then we have the Summer of Symbiotes kicking off in May, which is, a Carnage and Venom stuff. And then, because they haven't done actually any events with the symbiotes at Marvel. I mean, they just never have done it. It's weird that they've never done it. You'd think they would have by now. That is sarcasm for the people who can't get it. And then we get Fall of X in the summer. Now, Fall of X is reminiscent of Fall of the Mutants. Marvel said the X-Men hoped Krakoa would last forever. Time to find out if they were right. Now, there's been a lot of speculation and rumors and comments coming out of Marvel that we are reaching the end of the Krakoa era. That Hickman had a pretty straightforward plan, including an ending. They blew past that ending, and Hickman left the title. They kind of kept it going, but the sales for the X-Men line have not been stellar. And in this case, what they were hoping certainly was that the trades would pick up. But the trades are actually doing worse over time. They're launching out of the top 10 and then falling. So the trades aren't doing particularly well. If you just go on Amazon or on Diamond, you can kind of see how they're placing, and they're not placing anywhere close to where they should be. And the floppies themselves are starting to hover in that the 40,000 range, kind of as a midpoint. Several are getting down to the 20s. It's been a big struggle. So Jerry Duggan says the X-Men have been winning for a long time. How long do you think the villains are going to leave them alone? Also saying that this Fall of X will kick off around the next Hellfire Gala event. This will be the 3rd, so they're going back to it again. Now, if you remember, the first Hellfire Gala, they actually crossed over every single title, and it basically took over the lineup for not just a month, but actually leading up to it, quite a bit. And then this year, they basically kind of did one issue and barely touched on the others. It's going to be more like that for year 3, from what I understand. But that's going to kick off Fall of X, and certainly sounds like a attempt to kind of kick things into gear a little bit, potentially unwind how things have gone. They are eventually going to get to the X-Men in the MCU. They're clearly not going to do the Krakoa era. They're going to do the more classic era, which is a little bit more marketable, easier to do a movie rather than trying to explain to a bunch of normies why you've got mutants living on an island and can't die. So anyway, it will be interesting to see how that all shakes out, but definitely there's at least a better than average chance as a long-term X-Men collector. I'm hoping so that we are winding this thing out. But it's a lot of events. And from what I understand, for the second half of the year, we're going to get something involving Iron Man. We're going to get another thing involving Thor. We were supposed to get something involving Hulk, but that seems to have been scrapped or changing in some way. I guess maybe this Planet Hulk thing that they're kind of doing may qualify as an event. I'm not sure. But anyway, this is what we're getting. The 2 basic big X-Men, well, 3. Dark Web will feature the X-Men, Sins of Sinister, and then Fall of X. But this is looking like at least the kickoff of potentially the end of this Krakoa era that has been, let's just say, highly polarizing. Is that fair? Highly polarizing. Then before we get to Sins of Sinister, they also announced, and they announced this via the Marvel Voices panel, where they're highlighting some of the Wakanda Forever and African American level comics. Although, can you really call it an African American comic if it's Wakanda? There is no America. So, anyway. But the other X-Men related thing there is that we are getting Bishop and Bishop War College, and this is the idea. It's a limited series, so it's relatively short, but Bishop is training kind of the next version of leaders of the X-Men, which in this case will include Armor, Surge, Camlong, Aura, Charles, Amass. These are the students, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, just for what it's worth. I mean, if the war captains are supposed to be, they say even in the kind of a solicitation text that war captains are the best of the best people with tons of experience. So would you really be training a bunch of rookies to do that? Like, you think you'd want to train some of the people who've been around for a while? Like, you'd be going to like Rogue and Gambit, going, hey, you've been around for a long time. Let's like boost you up to that last level to be. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it clearly, but anyway, Bishop War College is something that is certainly coming, and that part is part of it. But the first event, as we mentioned before, you've got Sins of Sinister. So Sins of Sinister, looking to remake. It's basically Age of Apocalypse, but this time the Apocalypse is Mr. Sinister. So it's a alt reality series that's going to stop the X-Men books for a period of time and relaunch them in new series. So we have a bunch of titles that are coming out here, which will be you've got Storm and the Brotherhood of Mutants. That will feature Storm, of course, and from Al Ewing. Really the X-Men Red series, in which Storm leads a team across a future version of Araku trying to end the Age of Sinister. You've got Nightcrawlers from Cy Spurrier, in which genetically engineered mutant clones of Nightcrawler who have been merged up with Wolverine, called Wagnerine. Anyway, that's Sinister's personal strike force. And then you've got the Immoral X-Men, which is not a story about the throuple between Cyclops, Wolverine, and Jean Grey, but rather from Gillen and Medina, where Emma Frost tries to go and strike back against Sinister, and while the X-Men are sworn to crush a world that adores and respects them. So this is kicking off in April, and it's this, this Mr. Sinister recapturing some of the magic, or attempting to anyway, from the from this series that I would say a lot of people love. But Age of Apocalypse is one of those things that I think, I may lose a bunch of you here, but it's better in people's memory than it is in real life. I think that it was a cool concept and everything else, but if you go back and you read those issues, several of them have not aged well. The concept's still good, but the other problem is that, because Marvel has gone back to it so many times, you start to I don't know, that's more or less a problem. But anyway, in the Sins of Sinister, it's not just going to feature kind of a twisted world of the X-Men. It will also feature, the Avengers are Sinister people. The Odin and Thor are. I mean, everything is Mr. Sinister. So anyway, that's what we've got kicking off there. And then before we end here, we'll talk just a little bit more about this Summer of Symbiote. So that is, like I said, basically a symbiote, Venom, Carnage, Red Goblin. This will feature, remember Little Normie Osborn, so the kid. Anyway, to debut of brand new symbiote heroes, exciting shifts for iconic symbiote stars. I mean, maybe Flash Thompson will actually get a 13th or 14th identity. So it's a season of symbiote insanity. There you have it. So, Carnage, Venom, Red Goblin. I'm sure Norman Osborn, Spider-Man will be there. Chasm, if he survives the Dark Web event, that's something we can get. So lots of events coming up from Marvel. But to be honest, the thing I get most excited about is this potential end of the Krakoa era, but we'll see if that actually comes to pass. So the question is to you, what are you interested in? What do you like? What sounds good to you? Are you picking up any of these events? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.